Hello, it's George again. If you fancy reading something absolutely childish that quite possibly may well be the most offensive thing you've ever read, then buy my best-selling book. You can also sign up for my Patreon for hundreds of hours of exclusive content and, of course, check out my own Funkyspectrum website for more videos. Links will be in the description, and like and subscribe here if you want to be kept up to date with all the nonsense on YouTube. Now, let's get to the video. Hello, it's George again, and this is Parachute, and while it may seem like a piece of jingoistic mayhem, it's actually hiding a much darker secret at its black, bleak core. So, without further ado, let's dive in, hopefully not into shark-infested waters. Let's dive headfirst into a boat being rowed by a very upset-looking man indeed, and if you want to find out why he's so upset, watch on. This is Parachute, widescreen on the Game & Watch. Okay, so here we are. Jesus Christ, you can see like the look of sorrow on that chap's face. Basically, I mean, this is obviously it's an army like drop off in like Vietnam or something like that, maybe Laos or maybe Burma, maybe strange CIA activity. CIA turning up to Burma to buy as much heroin as they possibly can. That's possibly what's going on here. But ultimately, I mean, these chaps that are being rescued, we know what happens in the military. We've heard about deep cut barracks in other videos I've made, the sort of the horrendous male on male rapes and the sort of the hazings and such like that were taking place there. So while this chap does definitely not want on his conscience loads of men being absolutely chewed to bits by loads of sharks in the Pacific or whatever, or in some, I don't know, some godforsaken hellhole in some waterway cutting up through God knows where in Cambodia or something like that, he also doesn't want the situation where these people are going to use his arsehole as a latrine, or worse still, as a vagina. Or I'm not sure whether it's worse having someone pissing in your arsehole or ejaculating in your arsehole. If you watch certain porno movies, it seems to be pretty much interchangeable. But anyway, it's like that advert, you know, that old advert with the cigarettes when there's that really erotic looking woman sitting at a bar and she pulls a cigarette out and then all of a sudden there's about 100 hands in the shot all coming towards her, all like trying to give her a light. It's like that for this chap, except when he pulls out a cigarette in the mess hall, there's about 100 or more fully engorged army penises making their way towards his arsehole. So it's no wonder he looks deeply upset. And there we go, he's accidentally let two as well. He's accidentally let a couple of them slip into the drink. Less salubrious looking chaps that possibly had some problems with their glans penis or something like that, because of course out in the jungle there was no real way to test. I mean, the way that the local prostitutes would test in those days in the Pacific and such like, where there was actually islands apparently of like Indonesian prostitutes that the American GIs would go to, and it was like a hotbed of venereal diseases and drunkenness and general sort of Caligula-esque behaviour. But I'll try Game A and see how that gets on. I'm pressing the button, there we go. Yeah, and basically what those ladies would do, the only thing they could do, there was no doctors on site or anything, so they would get a local lime and they would split it open over your genitals and just squeeze it out, and if you were like, ooh, if you winced, then they knew there was like open sores on your cock and balls, and or sometimes even if you wanted like to take part in scat sex or something like that, they'd make you turn around and they would squeeze the lime over your anus, and then of course if you were like squealing, you may have just had an anal fissure, which I've had before and apparently isn't much fun, but of course I couldn't bloody feel the bloody thing. I just wiped my bottom and saw a load of blood on the paper and thought, this is the end, I've got bowel cancer. But as it turned out, I'd just done a shit that was about the size of a baby's head. But yeah, these prostitutes, they would squeeze that lime all over the glans penis of the people coming to visit them, and if the people winced, they'd just say no, or they would direct them to one of the older prostitutes who was probably absolutely absolutely fucking riddled. So you can see why this chap looks aghast. He's not looking aghast at the fact that, well, why are these people all being like fired out of a bloody helicopter, and why is it my job to pick them up? Then again, I'm in the army, so I did sign up for this kind of thing. I can't really complain, to do and to serve and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, no, he's not thinking about that. He's looking aghast because he's basically thinking of the state that his bottom's going to be in. It's going to be like the inner tube for a fucking tractor by the time these chaps have finished going through them. And, you know, they're not picky, these Marines. They'll be quite happy to basically turn on him at any moment without, of course, turning him on. They'll turn on him, but they won't turn him on. It'll be like having a load of cold water thrown up his back, all these willies going up his bottom. He won't be into it for one bloody moment. It'd be really painful. So that's the story behind Parachute. I mean, is it a good game? Can we start again? See, those sharks are laughing as well. The sharks are laughing because ejaculate's basically really protein filled, and these people have got blue balls as they're jumping off because they've been just sort of studying and things like that. They've been in individual, like these might be sort of higher up Marines that are kept in their own sort of separate barracks, and each Marine gets his own room and such like that. So it's not like they can have blanket parties every night and piss in each other's faces and stuff while one of them's sodomising all the rest of them up the bottom to rounds of applause and whoops of hoo-ah and stuff like that they say in the Marines. It's all very strange. It's like basically being in the Marines is like being in a continual game of rugby, or better still, a continual rugby locker room situation where it's all about rubbing your glands' penises again. Oh, come on lads, let's have a game of sword fights and all that sort of thing. All this sort of bizarre mental illness that the sort of upper classes get engaged in, that basically involves touching their penises together, takes place in the special forces, in the army, and it's terrible. And you get these people. A deep cut, of course, saw its share of suicides. I can just imagine someone staring into the middle distance thinking, this is not what I was sold when I was reading the Commando comic as a little lad. Perhaps if Commando as a comic had more male on male rapes in it, it could be actually viewed as maybe a better recruitment tool, because of course, if people are into that sort of thing, if you're into your work environment, you're going to do a better job. So basically, I mean, the army, arguably on paper it is, but it should be filled with sodomites, because that would surely make them do like a lot better. I remember reading an interview with a lady who'd been in the army once as well, and they were asking if she'd ever had any liaisons with anyone at the army, and she said that she'd had arrangements with like some colonel, and they'd had sex on the way home from like a base bar, but he put his willy up her bottom, and she'd asked him what he was doing. He just said that's what he prefers. It's what I'm used to now. So it doesn't matter if you're male or female. You're going to be taking it up the rear pipe. But anyway, look at all the people this guy's rescued. I can only feel sorry for him. His face just seems to go from aghast to aghast. I mean, all these men, every one of these men, sooner or later is going to want an appointment with this chap's arsehole, and it's probably going to be several of them, if not all of them, at the same time. Anyway, a chilling insight into army life and what things were really like on these strange military manoeuvres and CIA manoeuvres attempting to procure heroin and secure heroin trafficking routes in the Mekong Delta and such like. Anyway, that was Parachute. Okay, bye.